are in the conclusion of our series, Relationship Goals. So, the conclusion title is this: Worth Fighting For. How's that sound? How many of you enjoy fighting? What are we fighting for, though? That's the question, right? What are we fighting for? Are we fighting for the cultural expression of romance, which is a Nicholas Sparks reality, where one person, particularly the guy, would wrap his entire world around her? Is that what we're fighting for? Is it the famous Chicago song? You guys know which one I'm talking about? You're the meaning in my life. Come on, help me. And everyone under 30 is like, what is that song? You're the meaning in my life. Are we supposed to find our purpose in a person? The inspiration, like the reason I wake up in the morning is another person? Like, how long is that gonna last? Or how about Top Gun? Top Gun just came out with a new one, but the classic song, you never close your eyes anymore when I kiss your lips. There's no tenderness like before in your fingertips. You're trying hard not to show it. But baby, I know it. Come on, help me out. You've lost that love and feeling. Is that what we're fighting for? How many of you had no idea what that song was? How many of you are like, I have no idea what that is? What do you even sing? It's from the original Top Gun movie. Are we fighting to have a spouse that wraps their entire world around us like a Nicholas Sparks book? Are we fighting for the feeling of love, which anyone who's been married for more than 6 months knows? Those feelings fade and it's normal and it's okay. Or are you fighting for something more? So Jonna and I, my wife, we have some marriage mentors. They're well into their 60s. Their kids are grown. They did ministry together. And you look at the relationship they have together and you're like, I want that. And you know what you find when you meet with someone who's been married for 30, 40 years and there's still love in their marriage? You know what you find every one of them? They've gone through some hard times. They just did it together. They had seasons where the emotions were high, the loving feelings were present. And they had moments and seasons where the loving feelings were but a distant memory. Their image of love, their definition of love matured. That Nicholas Sparks missed it. That love is more than just a feeling. There's a depth that can only be found in a word. It's a word that you wouldn't expect to find the meaning of love to take place in, but it's often the place where love gets really revealed. It's a place where marriages become stronger, friendships get sharpened, work relationships get better or worse. You see, there's this one word that has a tendency to define the level of relationship we get to experience. For some of us, this word is the lid of our relationships. Like, it's the reason why your friendships never get past a certain point. It's the reason why there's a cycle in your romantic relationships that always start the same and end the same. That there's a reason why there's a lid in your parenting and the way that you relate to your kids, because this word happens the same way. And because you don't know how to handle this word correctly, you're stuck. Some of you, when you see this word, it's going to build something inside of you. And you're like, oh, I don't like that word. Some of you are like, I love that word. Both are wrong. See, there's this word in our language, there's this word in relationship that, like, you have to experience this word correctly. And if you don't, it can wreck your friendships. It can guarantee your marriage doesn't last. It'll put a lid on your kids and their future success. The way that you handle this word will reshape the way that they engage in relationships with other people. See, this one word will become the lid of your earthly experience. You ready for the word? Conflict. Today, my message is going to be helpful to all relationships, but it's one that I would highly encourage you to take some notes on. In fact, we make it really easy for you to take notes here at Vibrant. We actually put them on your seat. Each week, they're a little bit different. That goes along with this week's message. My hope is you take them home and you spend some time with God on Tuesday, reviewing the scriptures and the points and letting the Holy Spirit speak to you and lead you throughout the week. See, conflict is a word that impacts us all. How many of you are like, I love conflict? Conflict is my thing. I run to conflict. I'm good at conflict. No, you're a jerk. Some of you are like, I avoid conflict at all costs. I run from conflict. I am the peacemaker. I ignore conflict, at which your relationships have no resolution. You don't actually get to experience healthy relationships. Though they appear to be healthy on the outside, on the inside of the truth of the reality of the relationship is there is a lot of unresolved conflict. And then there's this myth in Christian circles that is, well, if Jesus is in my life, I won't have conflict. The problem with that is Jesus. The story of Jesus, he was surrounded by conflict. Every story in the Bible, you see conflict. Whether it was his birth or the time when he was 12 and he was in the temple teaching the religious leaders and his parents left him, to he had conflict with his disciples. He even told one of his favorite disciples, behind me, Satan. Wow, how would you like to feel that from Jesus? He had tremendous conflict with religious leaders. He had conflict with government officials as it related to politics. He lived in a world of conflict. And I think what you can learn from the story of Jesus, the story of the Bible, the story of humanity is this. Healthy conflict is a requirement for healthy relationships. So today we're going to go into a book that most pastors don't want to touch because it's awkward. It's the book of Song of Solomon. If you grew up in a church background, you're like, oh, you're going to Song of Solomon? Should I check my kids in kids ministry? Yes, but I'm not going there today. If you haven't read Song of Solomon before, if you are a married person looking to heat things up a little bit inside the bedroom, I recommend Song of Solomon chapter 4. Read it and apply it. And I promise you, it'll get a little bit warmer in the bedroom. It's one of those. It's the story of a man and a woman in the context of marriage. The first 4 chapters is the story of how they meet, their courting relationship. They didn't do dating back then. They had this courting relationship. And then there was chapter 4, which is the story of their honeymoon night, which is highly graphic. And you're like, I can't believe that's in the Bible. If for all of you that thought the Bible was boring, go read Song of Solomon, chapter 4. It is the opposite. Now, it is an allegoric, poetic form of writing. It was a form of poetry at their time. And chapter 5 is the story of their first fight. How many of the married couples in the room remember your married first fight? You want to hear my married first fight? John and I had just gotten married. And at the hotel room, I walk into the bathroom because I'd gone to go get something. I walk in the bathroom, and John is using my toothpaste. Well, I grew up in a household where everyone had their own tube of toothpaste. And I'm like, Jonna, what are you doing? She looks at me like, what are you talking about? Because in her family, they all shared one tube of toothpaste. She didn't even know what I was talking about. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, Jonna, what are you doing? Like, you just used my toothpaste. So she walks to the bathroom door, and she looks into the bedroom. And then she looks at me. And she looks back in the bedroom. And she looks back at me. And she's like, now you're concerned about sharing tartar? So you'll learn in relationships that there's the art of compromise. I wanted our own tubes of toothpaste, and Jonna wanted to share one, and we compromised, and today we share one. All right, so let's get in this couple's first fight. It starts with the woman. She said, I slept till my heart was awake. Have you ever been trying to go to sleep, but your heart's pounding? You're concerned, like there's tension. You're worried about something, and you ever been in the spot where you just can't sleep? This is where she's at. Listen, my beloved is knocking, so he's knocking at the door. Open to me, my sister, my darling, my dove, my flawless one. He wants something. My head is drenched with dew, and my hair with the dampness of the night. I mean, he just got done working. He wants something, and he is trying hard, but he has worked late, and he didn't call. So she replies, I have taken off my robe. Must I put it on again? I have washed my feet. Must I soil them again? This is like Hebrew for I have a headache. My beloved thrust his hand through the latch opening, and my heart began to pound for him. Her heart's shifting. I arose to open for my beloved, and my hands were drenched with myrrh, my fingers with the flowing myrrh on the handles of the door of the bowl. He put some perfume on the door handle. I opened for my beloved, but my beloved had left. He was gone. My heart sank at his departure. I looked for him, but I didn't find him. I called him, but he didn't answer. See, he had done something that made her mad, so she locked the door. It's like they live in a palace. Like they have guards at the door. Like the only reason there's a lock on the door is to lock one another out. So she locks the door because she's mad. He had an idea of how the night was going to go. He thought that he was going to come and they were going to make love. But she is slow to answering the door, so he leaves. At which here we have the epicenter of all conflict. Because it's the same. It doesn't matter the kind of relationship. It doesn't matter if it's a marriage. It doesn't matter if it's a job. It doesn't matter if it's a friendship. Conflict is always built around the same thing. You see, conflict is the result of unmet expectation. She had an expectation that he was going to be home at a certain time. And if he wasn't going to make that time, he was going to let her know. Like he was going to send word, send a message through one of the servants that he wasn't going to make it home in time. That didn't happen. He had an expectation that he was going to come home. And they're newlyweds. They're going to make love. Well, that didn't happen. Both of them have unmet expectations and now conflict. See, that's how relationships work. We all walk in with expectations. Like you walk into a job thinking, hey, if I apply myself at a certain level, I'll get a raise. If I show myself deserving, I'll get a promotion. As long as they work harder than the other guy, I'll get the promotion over him. We walk into a relationship, a romantic one, with expectations, a box of expectations. We don't often communicate exactly what those are, but we have them. Like you walk into a relationship thinking about who's going to do the household chores. Who's responsible for what? You have an idea in your house, like who's going to do the cooking and the cleaning. Sorry, I have toddlers. This is as good as it's going to get. Who's going to cook? You have an idea in your relationship, like how romance is going to go. What's it going to look like? How often is there going to be romantic moments? If you live in America, you're going to have to determine what are you going to do with one of these? How many games a week are you going to watch during the season? Because you walked in the relationship with an understanding of how often the two of you were going to watch sports. You went into the relationship with an idea around vacations and how you were going to spend a vacation. Is it the mountains or is it Disney? Or is it my family's house? You had an idea of how kids were going to go, how many kids you were going to have, when you were going to start having kids. Were you both going to agree on whether you'd have kids? Yes, the child doesn't have any clothes on. I tried to find clothes, but I couldn't find any in her house. Oh, here's the one. Who gets control of this? Oh, you feel that one right there? I'm hitting the real subjects today. Come on, somebody. You have an idea of how are you going to manage this? Whoo! You want to heat something up real quick, start talking about this. Or all the guys in the room, when we got married, we had an idea of what pajamas were going to look like. And we were expecting something more satin and less covering. We showed up with a box of expectations. And when those expectations are not met, conflict. Like you got together and she got married thinking we're going to hang out all the time. But she didn't know about guy night. She's like, I thought we were hanging out tonight. He's like, no, it's guy night. I'm watching a football game and eating some wings. She thought Saturdays were going to be full of Costco and samples. She didn't know that there was a football game that started at noon, 3, 7, and 10 p.m. And the next day, on Sunday, noon, 4, and 7. See, I think oftentimes the reason there's so much conflict in our relationship is this. Unspoken expectations are premeditated resentments. You expected it, you just never said it. I heard a story about a husband and a wife who were newly married, and his favorite breakfast was toast. His mom made him toast from the time he was a little kid all the way through living in her house. She made him toast, made it the same way every time. And their first morning together in their new home, she's going to make him this special toast. She gets some great toast, and she gets some homemade jam, and she gets some really great butter, and she cooks it perfect. She puts some butter on it. She puts the homemade jam on it. She gives him this breakfast, trying to love her husband well. Well, he eats it. He says, that was good, but it's not how Mom made it. And she's like, all right. Day 2, she's like, I'm beating Mama. Mama ain't got nothing on my toast. So morning number 2, she wakes up early and she gets some fresh avocados and she makes an avocado mash and she gets the lemon and she drizzles it and she gets some of the seeds and sprinkles it on. She makes them this epic avocado toast. She serves it to him. He eats it. And he's like, that was so good. Just not how Mom used to make it. Day 3, she's like, all right, I'm going to the extra. So she makes the avocado toast, but this time she puts smoked salmon, like really expensive smoked salmon. She's like, Mom is losing today. Today I win. So she serves this amazing toast breakfast. He eats it. He says, wow, it was so good, but it's just not how Mom used to make it. She's completely defeated, and she gets angry. So day number 4, she's like, all right. She goes to the toaster, turns it all the way up. Toasts it. Dark. It pops. Pushes it again. Comes out charred. She puts it on the plate, serves it to him. He says, oh, it's just how Mom used to make it. You see, most of us have expectations, but we often don't communicate what those expectations are. And in our culture of romance, we think, well, they should know what I want. Like, we've been married for 7 years. He should know what I want. All the ladies that have been married for 7 years, I want to give you a little tip. He has no idea what you want. You're a mystery to him. He loves the mystery, though. You think, well, my boss should know. My boss should have seen how hard I've been working. He should have seen how I'm the only one that shows up early and stays late. Yet that guy got the promotion. Did you ever tell him you wanted a promotion? Because that guy did. You walk into a friendship, my friend should know. My friend should know when this happens in my life that I need this from them. They don't know. My pastor should know. Your pastor doesn't know. At which, because we have not spoken our expectation, we end up in this thing called the cycle of dysfunction, at which we have unmet expectation, which leads to disappointment, which leads to conflict. And because there's now conflict, there's also a revolving circle of now there's new unmet expectation, and now the other person is disappointed, at which there's a greater level of conflict. Like, we experience this in our workplace. You probably experienced this the first time you went on a vacation together. Maybe this was just my household. John had an idea of what it was going to look like to leave and what was going to happen and when it was going to happen and how it was going to happen and like the spirit of which we were going to get ready to go on our vacation. But I didn't know it. So I went and I got everything loaded up and we got the kids together, but we had never talked about who was going to be responsible for doing what. And we get on the road and we're finally on the road and I can kind of feel like the tension's a little bit high. And I'm like, hey, you okay? She's like, I'm fine. And every guy in the room, you need to know this. When she says she's fine, she's not fine. She's not even close to fine. And I'm racking my brain like, what happened? Well, we both had an expectation of how vacation was going to look before we even left, but we never communicated it. And because we never communicated our expectation, now disappointment led in, and now conflict lives in the room, and all of our kids are feeling the tension in the room like, oh, what happened? What's going on with mom and dad? All because communication didn't get expressed. John and I often meet with couples, and usually we're meeting, like no one ever's like, hey, Pastor P, we would love to meet with you and your wife because our marriage is doing great. Our kids are doing awesome. Our finances are thriving. Like, our world's great. We just want to sit down and tell you how awesome it is. Like, that doesn't happen for us. It's always like, it's gotten bad, and now they're needing, like, some help. So we'll sit down with them, and I love to try to find the root of the problem. So I'll say, hey, so what happened? And I'll usually let her go first. And I'll find out something that like, the last thing that happened. I'm like, hold on, time out. And I'll look at him. Why'd you do that? Well, I did that because she said this. Hold on. Why did you say that? Well, I expected him to do this. Hold on. Did you know she expected that? He's like, no, I didn't expect that. Her reply, I told him 4 times. I don't remember her ever saying it. And there's this pattern. It usually starts with some small unspoken expectation that escalated, and shots were fired, and shots were fired, and shots were fired, and escalation took place, and now the relationship is on the brink of disaster. So today I want to give you a relationship goal. I will conflict in a healthy way. John and I got in a fight recently. This was a big one. Got pretty heated. We both kind of separated ways. And eventually she came crawling in on her hands and feet, or her hands and knees. And she said, Brandon, get out from under the bed and fight like a man. Just kidding, that didn't happen. But here's the point. There is a healthy way to do conflict. And until you learn how to do healthy conflict, it's the lid of all your relationships. Now, a little caveat. Even when expectations are given, listen, even when you tell your spouse, your friend, your boss, your expectations, they are not perfect people. They will still not always meet your expectations. There has to be grace in relationship. But when we do conflict, today I want to show you how do you begin to conflict in a healthy way. We started out the series with this idea that I'm going to bring the best version of me to the we. That you can't control your spouse, you can't control your friend, you can't control your boss. All you can do is work on you. I'm going to bring the best version of me to the we. So let's back to the couple's fight here. So he's left because she locked the door and she was slow getting there. And her friends are with her. And they say, where has your beloved gone? Most beautiful of women. Which way did your beloved turn that we may look for him? She said, I know where he is. My beloved has gone down to his garden, to the beds of spices, to browse in the gardens and to gather lilies. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine, and he browses among the lilies. Now, she is not trying to say that he is a gardener. What she's trying to communicate, again, this is an allegory, poetic form of communication, is she's saying that he's consistent. She says, I know where he is. He's at the garden. See, the garden for their culture, was an image of peace. So he's gone to his place of peace, or even for them in a religious context, it would have been him going to a place of prayer. So I know where he is. He went to get a breather. He didn't leave me. I'm not concerned about whether a relationship's okay. I just know that he went to get some space so he doesn't respond in a certain way. which is really important in a relationship that you know, hey, when you part ways, how it's going to go. Like for us in the Sarek household, divorce is not a word that we use. Like it is an unacceptable word. John and I from the very beginning said, hey, we will never use that word, ever. And if you were to ask John and you were to say, hey, John, is that true? Is it okay to use the word divorce at home? She would say, divorce, no. Murder, maybe. Now, let's talk about the reality. Some of you right now are feeling the relational tension of like, yeah, that's not always how I've acted. I didn't go to the place of peace. I've blown it so many times. Me too. Here's my encouragement for you today. Hey, all the times that you've blown it, Jesus' blood is sufficient and it covers. And God's grace and God's power is greater than all the times you've got it wrong. And I could tell you 100 stories of couples who were in horrible relationship. And God has restored and redeemed. And some of them today now lead marriage ministries from the place of their pain. So today, if you're like, Pastor, I've blown it so bad, here's my hope. From this day forward, I will conflict in a healthy way. That today, the two of you might be sitting next to each other and just look at each other and just say, hey, from this day forward, we're going to conflict in a healthy way. Now, some of you, you're in a physically unsafe place. I'm not saying that you have to stay in that. In fact, if you're in an unsafe place, if you talk to us after the service, my wife or I or someone on our prayer team, we will absolutely walk with you in that. I'm not talking about abuse. I'm talking about conflict, which is normal in relationships. So the first step is I will act, not react. He got away to get some clarity, so he didn't react. He didn't go to the bar to get a drink. He didn't go hang out with his boys to distract him. He went to the place of peace. He went to the place of prayer because he knew that if he just responded in the moment, he probably wouldn't respond correctly. Because the word react actually means to reenact. Isn't that how it works though? Something happens, conflict takes place, they did something to not meet our expectations, or they did something to make us mad or hurt us. And it's like a movie screen that plays over and over and over in our minds. And we reenact it over and over and over. And the story gets bigger every time we replay it in our mind. And then we start having the moment of confrontation in our head. And we have conversations in our head. And they say things in our minds. They didn't actually say it, they just said it in our mind. And now we end up being upset with them because of something that didn't even happen. Because we're reenacting the conflict. So if that's react, what does it mean to act? What do you have to do to make it so you don't just keep escalating the problem? React into friendship. How do you act so it's not like punch, not physically, but verbally, in a marriage, and now the marriage is in a dark place? See, acting is a predetermined response to conflict. See, I was a youth pastor for years, and I would teach teenagers, hey, you need to have your standard of purity before you walk in the relationship. Because if you wait to get in the back seat of a vehicle on a Friday night and no one's around and think then you're going to make a good decision as it relates to your purity, you won't get the right answer. If you don't make the decision related to alcohol and smoking a joint before you're hanging out with your friends and a friend offers it to you, because if you wait for that moment and you haven't already determined what you're going to do with it and they hand it to you, it's too late. You got to predetermine your response. Adults, we have to predetermine our response. Hey, when the opportunity comes for you to walk in dishonest gain or to tell a partial truth because it benefits you, or maybe you're a salesperson and you know that you have to lie to close the deal, if you wait until that moment, it's too late. So I just have a question. Have you predetermined how you will handle conflict? Like, have you predetermined, I will not blow up? Like some of us, like that's our reality. We get poked and we get angry. And there ends up being this verbal explosion where verbal knives come out of our mouths and those words we don't get back. But in the moment, it feels good because it has this false sense of justice. Put them in their place. What if you predetermine, I'm going to get away and breathe? Not go to your girlfriends who slander their husbands and their boyfriends. That is the wrong place to go. That is not helpful. I guarantee you that'll make it worse. You want to make your relationship worse, ladies? Go talk to all the girlfriends that slander their husbands and boyfriends where it's just okay to talk trash about their husbands. That'll ruin it, I promise. Don't wait till conflict happens in the workplace and then get all that. Like you have the moment where it's like kind of heated in the office or in your wherever it is you work, and then you leave and then you go to an email. And all of a sudden you're way more emboldened with a text message or an email. In fact, I've learned personally, I will not handle conflict through a text message because you get no tone or body language. And there have been times when I've tried to remove the conflict with a text message only to escalate it because what I said was misunderstood because the tension was high. Don't go to Facebook and get passive aggressive. It's the wrong place. It happens to me as a pastor sometimes where someone gets mad at me at church and they leave and then they go to Facebook and they start posting these things and I'm like, stop. That's not even what happened. And they get all passive aggressive. No, that's not healthy conflict. Let me talk to the dads real quick. This is passion zone for mine. Hey dads, we don't get our words back, but our words carry great weight. There will be conflict between you and your kids. There has to be because healthy conflict is a requirement for healthy relationships. There will be conflict with your kids. You're not there to be their best friend. You're there to be their dad. They only get one. It needs to be you. And in order for you to be a great dad, you need to be careful about the words that come out of your mouth. And there is grace and forgiveness, but let me tell you, your kids carry your words more than anybody else. So with your kids. Some of you are like, well, you don't have kids yet. You need to predetermine with your kids how you're going to handle conflict. In your marriage, you need to predetermine how you're going to handle conflict. John and I have this pre-understanding. Hey, we don't use the phrase, you always or you never. That's not okay. Because you know what happens? Oh, well, 4 years ago, your mom said this and you did nothing. That's not okay. We don't bring up the past. Let's go back to their conflict. Tensions are a little bit high in the room. I'm going to bring it back. All right, you ready? You bring it back? We're going to go back to their conflict, and we're going to leave yours alone for a second. The husband replies, I love this. This is great. He says, you are as beautiful as Tirzah, my darling, and as lovely as Jerusalem, as majestic as troops with banners. Turn your eyes from me. They overwhelm me. He's like, hey, girl, stop looking at me like that. It's not fair. My wife can do that. She can look at me a certain way. I'm like, it's not. Stop. Your hair is like a flock of goats. Guys, I do not recommend you use his literal phrasing because I don't think in our culture today this would be a compliment. Your teeth are like a flock of sheep coming from the washing. He's like, I see you, girl. You've been using that whitening, haven't you? Uh-huh. I got you. He's like, each one of them has a twin. Not one of them is missing. Oh, yeah, girl. You got all your teeth. I used to live in Alabama. That actually would have been a compliment in Alabama. Girl, I see you with all your teeth. You've been taking care of those things. You've been flossing. Number 2 is I'll choose my focus. He could have chosen to focus on her flaws. Why'd you lock the door? Why did you make all the assumptions? Why did you get so mad before you even talked to me? He could have focused on her inconsistencies. They were newly married. She's a young woman. She has inconsistencies. What's wrong with her? Nothing. She's just a young woman. He could have brought up the faults in her personality. I'm sure she had one. We all do. But he chose to focus on her strengths. Because oftentimes what happens is we get to choose, and whatever our choice is of our focus becomes our tunnel vision. And we can focus on unmet expectations. Well, I thought vacation was going to look a little bit different. When's the last time he talked to me about creating conversation? The only way we're going to go in conversation is if I bring it up. When's he going to fix that? Or you can focus on, man, I'm so grateful that he worked so hard to have a house that we get to live in. When's the last time we went on a date? Or you can focus on, man, he tells me he loves me every day. He works so hard to show it. Why is she always wearing those jeans? Man, she's such a great mom. Whatever you focus on, whatever you're looking for, you'll find. Whatever you set your focus on will get bigger. So what he does, he says, I'm going to find the one thing that's good. I'm going to put all of my focus and attention on it. So where's your focus? Well, my manager could do such a better job. Or is it, man, I'm so grateful for a job that pays. Why doesn't my friend ever do this for me? I'm always one doing it for them. And I'm so grateful that I have a friend that I can call on a bad day. What if you pause and you find the one thing? You put all your attention on it. Here's one thing I find crazy. Have you ever lost your keys in 5 minutes and you can't find them anywhere? Yet conflict arises and you can remember something they said 5 years ago? 5 minutes ago, I have no idea where I placed down my keys, but I remember what you said 5 years ago. Or we get in a conflict with a gun loaded with ammo from 15 years ago. Well, 15 years ago, you said this. 15 years ago, you should have been there. Here's another question. Do you want victory or resolution? Do you want to win? Is it I'm right and they're wrong, and I have the better thought and I have the better idea, and if they could just see it my way? So I'm going to tell you, they're thinking the same thing. Conflict to win, conflict to victory is not healthy conflict. I coach sports with my kids. If the team loses, we all lost. If the team wins, we all win. There is not, hey guys, we lost today, but you played great. Because it teaches them the wrong thing. Because eventually there's going to be a relationship of, hey, if I win and Jonna loses, we lost. In marriage, we're on the same team. In your friendship, same team. At work, same team. If you win, you all win. If you lose, you all lose. And I get it. I talk for a living. Words are my gift. Can you imagine being in a fight with me? I can verbally annihilate you, and I can do it eloquently. Oh, yeah, I can. I won't tell you you're an idiot. I will systematically work in conversation with you to convince you that it was your idea that you're an idiot, and you'll walk away being like, I think he offended me. So how do you change? Some of you are like, I explode. Some of you are like, I run from conflict. I avoid conflict at all cost. Some of you are like, man, my words, I might not get loud, but I can get sharp. How do you change? Your willpower is not enough. Psychology shows that it's a limited resource. But with God's power, this isn't the church answer, this is the answer. With God's power, with the help of the Holy Spirit, you don't have to explode anymore. That might be part of your past, but it doesn't have to be part of your future. You might have avoided conflict your whole life. That doesn't mean it has to be your future. You can learn to conflict in a healthy way. In fact, relationships only get better when there's healthy conflict. So here's how their conflict ended. She says, place me like a seal over your heart, like a seal on your arm. For your love is as strong as death. jealousy, unyielding as the grave. It burns like a blazing fire, like a mighty flame. She's saying, I'm going to need something, a seal over your heart's like a tattoo. Like, I want it to be tattooed permanently on my heart. I'm going to do this right. Here's my last question. Is it worth fighting for? You need to predetermine in your heart that it's worth fighting for. Worth fighting for means you will conflict, but I'm going to do it in a healthy way. Let's pray. Jesus, you are the perfect example of how to conflict in a healthy way. Your word is the perfect example of healthy romance and healthy marriage. So, Father, I pray that we would not be disciples of a culture that would shape our idealism of romance, of love, of marriage, of friendship. But God, that we would be disciples of Jesus, that we would do friendship his way, do marriage in a way that honors you, work in a way that pleases you as unto the Lord. If you're married right now, I just want you to grab your spouse's hand if they're sitting next to you. As we conclude this series, God, I pray right now over our marriages. God, I pray that you would strengthen them. God, that you would be their source, that you would be their purpose, that you would be the direction of their lives. So God, strengthen them. I pray that your grace and your blood would cover all the times that they've gotten it wrong. That you would be the peace of their home. That you would be their freedom. Pray over our singles right now. God, I pray that they would trust you with their future. That they would work on becoming the person you designed them to be and trust you in the meantime, that you're going to bring the right person at the right time. And in the meantime, between now and marriage, that they would do sexuality and relationship in a way that honors you. In Jesus' name we pray.